term ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, ANIA is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's ANIA is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de La Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicaNIMO, and sulatNIMO. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths. ANIA, La Salle Harvest of the Arts Festival. ANIA is a Cebuano term that literally means there is, and it bears another Cebuano term, ani, which means harvest. Also, A in ANIA is purposely separated to represent an acronym that means arts. And so, Ania is a festival suggesting that there is harvest of arts in this part of Mindanao. This year's Ania is celebrated during the month of the Founders Feast, St. John Baptist de la Salle, with three major sub-festivals, cineANIMO, musicanimo, and sulatnimo.
Good morning, Sir Elbert. Mag-start na po tayo. Maya-maya na po.
Hello, good morning, guys. We will be starting in a few. We're just waiting for the others to join as well. While waiting, you may grab maybe a cup of coffee or a bottle of water while preparing. Also, we are recommending everyone to prepare headphones or good quality earphones for today's talk, as you will be you can appreciate the lecture for today more when you have those. And we will be starting in about 10 minutes while waiting for the others. Meanwhile, you can check out the press mat that's flashed on the screen. The films for the festival or the official entries are shown or can be screened via video on demand on fdcpchannel.ph. So watching the films are very easy. For we all only need 4 steps. You can create a free account and then you may stream it. So we will be starting in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
cineANIMO Film Festival. cineANIMO Film Festival.
So, good morning, film enthusiasts and participants. Today, we will be having an educational and informative discussion and exposing the beauty of cinema. Truths and reflections on films would be uncovered in the session. So, before that, we were also acknowledging the presence of the Film Development Council of the Philippines through Ms. Rica Javier. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am Ivy Nicole Arboleras, your host, and I welcome you to Film Talks, a glimpse of regional filmmaking. But before we start our talk, let us ask the presence of our Almighty God. Let us remember that we are in the most holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Leave Jesus in our hearts.
Forever.
ang watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidini. Ang bituin ng araw niya ay ng pamay magdidilim. Lupa ng araw dalawa ating pagsinta. Buhay langit sa lima. Aming ligaya ng may nangagit. Ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
So once again, I will welcome you all to today's Film Talk. A pleasant morning to everyone. Are you all ready to learn and discuss the beauty of cinema? But before we go deep into today's discussion, let us first hear a message for cineANIMO's founding festival director, Dr. Felimon Bonita Blanco. Please watch this video.
ANIA LaSalle Harvest of the Arts Festival. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths.
cineANIMO Film Festival started with the idea of providing a platform for the students of the special program in the arts, especially in northwestern Mindanao area. And that was the primary purpose why I organized the festival. Mylene Oriza, who was then the PDO for the Committee on Film, asked me after watching the kids, after watching the Teatro Gindigan perform na, Sir Mon, do you want to organize a film festival in your university? And of course, knowing me that I love to help the young artists in the area, then suddenly something that popped into my mind. Say, yes, I would love to get that. And that was the start of it. So when we came back to the country after that Indonesia performance, I started conceptualizing. And that was the first time that I wanted to have a branding, a LaSalle branding. And of course, when you talk about LaSalle, you cannot get away the word animo. And then I was, inspired by other films that started with cine, and then you have another term. So then I started to coin the word cineANIMO because I wanted the festival to have its own identity, being a LaSallian festival. So that's why I coined it cineANIMO. And well, at the time before this whole short stint or short visit at the NCCA, I already had something in mind that I wanted to create projects inside the university that would cater to the needs, sort of a supplemental projects, supplemental activities for the students of the special program in the arts in the area. And because of this opportunity to be able to organize cineANIMO, that's when I started conceptualizing it. Now, this cineANIMO is for the students because I know that they are talented young students in the area, but there is no platform for them to showcase. And cineANIMO becomes that platform for students who wants to do film, who wants to do short film, who are have interest in multimedia. That this that LaSalle University will provide that platform for the students, especially in the northwestern Mindanao area, to experiment, to play. I always say that LaSalle University is a creative playground. And we want to offer cineANIMO as a creative playground for these aspiring filmmakers in the area. And in that second, in the second year, that was the time that I wanted to give up already. Um, we didn't have any funds at all. I didn't have any grant anymore from the NCCA. I don't know where. We don't know where I want to get funds. But then Dr. Chedel Joansen Jago, then the director for Culture and Arts Office, she promised me na don't worry about the funds. I'll help you, get funds, but worry about how you can manage and get as many film submissions as you can. And cineANIMO was sort of really like an in-house thing, and it was purely LaSalle University. Like through some budgets from other offices, which actually being given as a share to manage the festival. So cineANIMO was really an in-house thing, that it was really created and made by LaSalle University. From cineANIMO 3, that was the time that we got already our partnership with the Film Development Council of the Philippines, until now. And I think the problem is always how to raise funds. I didn't have any problems in getting film submissions because, especially in the third year, for example, we received a lot of submissions, and because of that, you can really say that there is really a need, to sustain this project, because it has created already a name of its own. With this, I would like to commend the efforts of the LSU ADMST in continuing this worthwhile festival for the benefit of the young filmmakers in the city of Osamis, in the province of Misamis Occidental, in Mindanao, and in the Philippines in general. Congratulations to cineANIMO. Way to go on your 6th edition this year. Thank you, and enjoy the festival.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philemon, for the talk. To introduce to you our resource speaker for this talk, please watch this video.
Albert Panares is a film director, producer, and multidisciplinary artist, two-time Gawad Orian nominee, three-time Gawad CCP winner, and winner of 5 international awards during the pandemic years alone in Copenhagen, Berlin, Osaka, and Ontario. His films and art have been selected in more than 80 international film and art festivals in more than 30 countries. His latest film, Sa Paglupad Kabanog, is the first film in Philippine history to have been given consent by the Panay Bukidnon elders to do a cinematic translation of portions of the indigenous Sugidanon epics. The film had its world premiere at the prestigious 42nd Fantasporto International Film Festival this April and will have its international premiere as part of the opening day program at the Academy Award qualifying 38th Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival this May 2022, screening at the famed Directors Guild of America Cinema. He is the festival director and chief programmer of Bakunawa Young Cinema, the first genre film festival in the Philippines, and Cine Halaga Film Festival, named as the third best film festival of 2021 by the Society of Filipino Film Reviewers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Direct Albert Banyares.
Good morning, everyone. Isang magandang araw po sa lahat. Thank you for waking up so early, just like me, to attend this talk. Una sa lahat, pinapasalamatan ko si Sir Imon Blanco, Dr. Blanco, si Sir Ted, si Earl, si Rika sa FDCP on behalf of Chair Liza, and si Ivy no, na tumutulong sa atin. Isang magandang umaga sa LaSalle University and FDCP na nagsusponsor ng mga talk na ito. May mga salita ngayon sa aking talk na paulit-ulit niyong maririnig. And ang mga salitang ito ay mahalaga. In fact, ang isang salita na maririnig nyo ngayon is halaga. Halaga because regional films tend to show us the importance of life and the importance of who we are as a people. Halaga is also value, no? The values in life. And those two things, values and importance, is already fading out from most of our consciousness. So I hope that through this almost 50-minute presentation, may mapupulot kayong glimpses and perspectives in regional cinema. Bakit nag-record tayo at pwede naman akong mag-live? Oo. So tatanungin ko rin kayo, bakit hindi kayo maaga nagising at nag-start tayo late? So maraming pwedeng itanong sa akin, pero ang katotohanan is this, no? I'm just kidding. Ang katotohanan is that ayoko sa online workshop sa totoo lang. Kung hindi lang ito cineANIMO, hindi ako papayag. Kasi ang mga online workshops like this, no, I'm talking to myself, I don't see anybody. So mamaya sa Q&A, I would prefer sana if you ask a question, makikita ko sa camera. Nawawala yung warmth natin bilang mga tao. And I don't know with you guys, alam ko medyo malayo na edad natin. I'm really kind of far from you. Pero sa totoo lamang, the warmth is needed these days. Huwag tayong masanay, huwag nating sanayin yung ating mga sarili na hindi natin nakukuha itong warmth. Because it is the warmth and the bond between people that makes us feel important and that makes you important to me. Now, mahalaga ang editing sa mga lectures, lalo na sa online, kasi ang pinaka-ayoko, yung nagle-lecture ka tapos sasabihin mo, hello, can you hear me? Yung mga ganon. Tapos, wait lang ha, I'm gonna play videos. Ang mga lectures ko minsan, ang daming videos. So, mahalaga na kailangan ko siya ma-edit. So, I edited this almost 8 days. Simula nang inimbita ako. Medyo ma-OC ako sa editing. Kaya mahalaga din sana na may earphones kayo at mapanood nyo siya sa laptop. I give credit to all the films na aking minention dito. And I hope you will be able to really get something from this. No? Hindi ito talk na pag-uusapan natin ng skill. Nasa workshop yun. No? That's not my job. My job is to show to you a few films na ano ang perspective ng regional cinema at bakit siya nagpe-persist sa ating bansa. Ang regional cinema ba ay pang-probinsya lamang? Ano mas mahalaga? Tagalog films? Or ang ating mga pelikula na ginawa natin? So, the talk will be about that. And I hope you enjoy. Please be patient. And I hope at the end of this talk, we will be seeing each other again. And I'm going to ask and answer your questions. I'm asking also questions kasi later, pag-uusapan din natin, gusto ko rin malaman yung perspectives ninyo about this talk. So, enjoy and I will see you later. Maraming salamat. Isang magandang araw po sa kanilang lahat. Good day. I'd like to thank LaSalle University and the Film Development Council of the Philippines for sponsoring this talk as part of cineANIMO 2022. Today I'll be talking about perspectives in regional cinema. And it's important to put the context into this talk. What I will be talking about is uh, very personal and also very subjective because ang mga pinili nating mga pelikula ay ayon sa aking mga na-observe bilang programmer. Pangalawa, kung ang mga pelikulang ito ay within my grasp or available sa akin or available to download para mabigay ko sa inyo as an example. Pangatlo, mahalaga na malaman natin bago tayo mag-discuss or magpresenta ng mga pelikula kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng regional cinema or kung paano natin ito titingnan. So I believe that we should start with the fact that regional cinema was already there even before the term regional cinema was actually used in popular context. A lot of filmmakers were doing films in the provinces while there are many films, Tagalog films, being done in Metro Manila. So ang karamihan sa mga filmmakers, most of whom are filmmakers na walang access sa mga pelikula, already made films as early as 1980s or 1990s. So in my case, for example, I started making films in 1993. My first film, Banal, was an entry at the Gawad CCP, which then did not have the category Best Regional Entry. That year, they received a few regional entries that CCP decided to create the award Best Entry from the regions, which is why napalat tayo na unang nagwagi, nanalo sa patimpalak na ito sa Gawad CCP para sa alternatibong pelikula at video. The point being, the films which we did already existed before we even called them regional. The term regional only came to form when people from Manila and scholars all over the Philippines realized that there were many other films being done outside of Metro Manila way back, that they have to acknowledge the existence of these films. Paano ba natin masasabi na isang pelikula ay regional? Kailangan nating pag-usapan kung ano ang mga characteristics ng mga tinatawag nating regional films. It's important to observe the shared characteristics para magkaroon tayo ng definition. Sa totoo lang, ang definition ng regional films is an ever-changing description or definition. Sa lawak nito, sa dami ng mga perspectives, sa dami ng mga ginagawang pelikula na ibang-iba ang mga tones, voices, genres, mahirap ilagay sa isang kahon ang definition ng regional cinema. Kaya sa tingin ko, the definition of regional cinema is evolving through the years, as we see more films coming from the regions, as we discuss more films coming from the regions, as we get to realize how regional filmmakers are creating films using their voices to create and tell the stories coming from the regions. I'm sure na may nag-exist na mga definitions on regional cinema. Kaya lang yung aking inspiration for this is an American book, kung saan they defined regional films. Pero hindi ko ito susundin dahil the definition works for them. Inspiration lamang yan. Let's see how these definitions would work for the Philippine setting. The first observed characteristic is that the stories, characters, and aesthetics in these and of these films reflect the lives, peoples, locations, and sensibilities of a particular region. So klaro na ang regional film, isa pinakauna mong mahahalata is that yung kwento, yung sensibilidad, yung mga tauhan, at ang boses ng filmmaker working outside NCR or the dominant capital is really different because hindi niya ito pinapattern sa formula na ginagamit ng, ng marami. Pangalawa, regional film describes a critical category and tool in film study. So it's important that regional film is given that critical category para pag-usapan, para mapanood, at para mabasa. No? People will read the films. People will be able to dissect the films as part of film literacy. Pangatlo, it describes an attempt to create an independent cinema with strong cultural roots in various regions in the country. Pag sinabi natin cultural roots, ito yung kung saan tayo nanggaling, pinapahalagahan natin. So, it is safer to assume na ang isang regional films, the appropriation to culture is correct. Although hindi ito nangyayari sa lahat, pero since ang isang filmmaker ay galing sa lugar na yun, yung mga kwento, yung kanyang mga locations ay hindi lamang ginagamit bilang backdrop, kundi pinapahalagahan ito dahil mas alam ng filmmaker na taga doon ang kanyang kwento. Mas alam niya ang history ng lugar. And I believe if tama ang filmmaker sa kanyang mga research, mas mabibigyan niya ng magandang anggulo ang mga kwento niya na mas makabuluhan ang paggamit ng location at ang pag-create or ang paggawa natin ng ating mga characters. Mas sincere, mas heartfelt, and mas realistic. Kumbaga, it's attuned to what is really happening in their area. May notion tayo ng regional cinema is just because you're from a particular place. No? Regional cinema is not just a matter of geography or made by a filmmaker na galing sa lugar na yun. I believe it is beyond these description. Hindi lamang ito geography. Dahil taga doon ka, kaya mong gawin ito. Ang lugar kasi is essential to any film. A location is very important. Lalo na sa isang regional film. Pero it's the regional spirit that drives the narrative. You know? So, space is not just used as a backdrop, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina. Perhaps space becomes a character. The space or the location becomes a witness. Nagiging parte ito ng pagkukwento. One of the things that reminds me of tamang paggamit ng lugar is that many times our country is being used by Hollywood as a backdrop na pwedeng Vietnam or Thailand or Indonesia. So in effect, ang lugar natin, hindi siya nagagamit as us. Whereas ang regional film, as it should be, no? As it is. Kung hindi man niya gagamitin in a realistic manner, kunyari genre film siya, bibigyan pa rin niya ito ng mas makabuluhang history, kahit gawa-gawa lang yung kahit fiction, pero mas bibigyan niya ng halaga dahil taga doon siya sa lugar na yun. But at the same time, he's able to live there. He knows its history. He knows the folklores behind it. He knows kung sino ang mga taong nagbibigay ng halaga sa lugar na yun, kung sino ang mga taong parte sa pag-develop ng place na ito. So ang daming pwedeng gawin ng isang regional filmmakers sa amount of information that he has sa lugar. And mahalaga din na hindi lang ito amount of information, but the depth of information. Dahil ang lalim ang nagbibigay ng kahalagahan sa isang pelikula. No? Mas malalim ang ating pagsasaliksik, mas malalim ang ating pagkakaintindi, mas malalim ang ating pag-unawa, mas malalim yung ating appreciation sa isang kwento or sa isang character sa pelikula. Filmmaker Noel Escondo chose to shoot the film Lorna in a place familiar to him and cast locals for the roles of the townsfolk. The result made the place look like a character.
Ano po, Lorna? Lapit na naman ang tag-ulan. Kukunti na naman yung mahuhuli ng mga mister natin sa dagat. Napakarami.
The sea is their friend and can be a foe. Will the sea be in one with Lorna when she decides to take the role of the first fisher folk in their town?
Dahil daw sa lakas ng alon, dala nung dumaan na malaking barko. Ayun! Lorna. Punta na lang kaya tayo ng Maynila, tapos mamasukan tayo. O kaya D8, sa ibang bayan.
Alam mo namang hindi ko maiiwan itong mga anak ko. Saka wala kami kamag-anak dito para mapagbuwan ako sakali.
Hindi, magdadaing na lang tayo. E paano kung walang huli?
Ito pa naman si Jose. Eh, baka pwede siyang umextra-extra uli sa construction sa bayan.
Ayun tayo.
Hindi naman. Ano ka bang huli?
Maganda yung bigay ng dagat.
When I conceptualized the poetry film Pamatiibala ang akong mga utik na binalaybay by poet Carla Kimsing, I assigned the places the two characters go to as witnesses to a relationship. Kaysa imo nga habal-habal ako masakay. Whether this was real or imagined. This decision made me very conscious of the sounds of the nature scenes, like they're speaking to the audiences. Pasensyahin lang ang mga dagubdob sa akong dughan. Kay daw kakululbaan sa atong ginaagyan ng mga dalan. Hindi gid pagbuyi ang manibela. Piskan makalam ang akon malabab ng mga ginawa. Ang aton dalagan, padasiga, padasiga, padasiga. Hasta magpiyong ang aton ng mga mata. I believe it is clear to everyone na ang regional film is free and independent. Dahil wala kang formula na sinusunod, walang producer from a mainstream studio or a major studio telling you what to do with your film or telling you what to do with your kwento. So, mahalaga ang pagiging free, ang pagiging independent ng isang filmmaker sa paggawa ng kanyang mga kwento ukol sa kanyang region or sa kanyang city, sa kanyang probinsya. Ang pagiging free these days is a little bit misunderstood. Pag sinabi nating independent ka at pag sinabi nating free, Hindi pwedeng kahit ano lang ang pwede natin gawin. Lalo na kung ikaw ay gumagawa ng dokumentaryo. Mahalaga pa rin ang research. Mahalaga pa rin ang katotohanan, the truth, no? Mahalaga pa rin ang depth, lalim ng isang bagay. At mahalaga ang pagsasaliksik para bago natin gawin ang pelikula, mapa-fiction man or dokumentaryo, ang ating foundation sa paggawa ng pelikulang ito ay maayos at makabuluhan. I think it will spell quite different if you do a film right and you do the film with respect for the place and for the people.
Inubanan sa halandong propeta.
For various reasons unknown to me, the filmmakers of Lienda took creative liberties in their retelling of the story of Lapu-Lapu and his historical importance to the land.
Dugol apan daghan ang kalainan. Hindi kahinaman kini mao ang pagpuli sa trono sa pagpananom apan dili kiniigo ug hinay-hinay ang mga katawhan ug nahimo na nga layo ang posibilidad sa kalinaw.
In the first film to have been given consent by the Panay Bukidnon elders, the flight of Banog was told in imaginative ways, but every decision we made was presented to the elders and the cultural masters and our consultants, allowing them to be part of the collaborative process and respecting their epic. Sa tingin ko, regional cinema should be brave yet grounded. Dahil ikaw ay free, kailangan gamitin mo ito. No? If you are free and independent, you have to be brave. You have to take stands. You have to create imaginative stories na hindi ka natatakot na may na matuligsa or na ikaw ay ma-criticize or ito ay lalaitin. Bagkus, ang idea dapat natin is that we should share the sensibilities of our region to the world. I know there is a temptation these days for filmmakers to create films na gusto ng mga festivals. So, minsan yung ating tone, sensibilities, even the way we shoot the films, we pattern it to what programmers like or what we see from previous years na nanalo. And I think that kasama sa pagiging matapang sa paggawa ng pelikula, ang paggawa ng mga original stories. I know there's less originality these days, pero may perspective ka na pwedeng maidagdag dun sa pelikula na hindi pa nagagawa ng kahit sino man. Posibleng nagawa na yun, pero sa tingin ko, meron kang bagong mailatag sa mesa kung ang iyong diwa is free and brave. Ang katapangan ay hindi lamang sa content, no, or sa pakikipag-away. Brevity in content also includes mga perspectives mo in telling the story, the approach in telling the story, the kind of tone na gagamitin mo sa pagkwento. Pupunta ka ba sa landas na sigurado matatanggap ka sa isang festival or gusto mong ilabas ang sensibility ng bayan mo, ng lugar mo, ng probinsya mo, ng region mo, and without thinking of how people should react to the film or what will they think about the film. Ang karamihan sa atin, there is always a temptation for younger filmmakers. And I admit, no, before, I've had these temptations also, pero maaga ko siyang binaliwala dahil there's always a temptation to be light, lalo na sa panahon ngayon where everything is driven by analytics. And ang nakikita ko is that to be light, you have to please a certain group of people with a certain formula. Kaya ang nakikita ko, karamihan sa ating mga pelikula ay either magkakamuka or sinusunod natin kung ano ang nakikita natin sa Hollywood or sa demands ng public. However, kailangan clear din sa atin kung ano ba ang purpose ng ating paggawa ng films. If you want something mainstream, perhaps you can do a mainstream na ang sensibility mo pa rin ay na mailalabas mo pa rin yung originality mo, mailalabas mo pa rin yung voice mo. Otherwise, clear sa'yo dapat na if you are creating a film na ikaw ang nag-produce, sayang ang independence mo and sayang yung pagiging free. Kung gagayahin mo lang naman talaga ang formula ng mainstream where they are not free. So mahalaga na maaga pa lang, as a filmmaker, you get to decide on these things. You be brave enough to create stories that do not subscribe to a particular tone or to a particular look or to a particular sensibility. In Pakot by Hugh Montero, the stories and plight of the Lumad are bravely told, choosing to side with the Lumad, the teacher, and the indigenous community. While we see the beauty of their lands on screen, we are presented with urgent issues of ancestral lands being taken away from them.
Lord, yun na, Kas. Dito sa amo ang lugar, sudlan na may dagkong kapitalista.
Oo, yan. Basa ko mag-pitaw.
Kaljo.
Sa mata! Ma'am! Ma'am! Sige, Sarah. Mata. Ang halimbawa sa Uranda. Ako, ma'am. Sarah, sige daw. Iyoy, dakon pa, salamat doy, ayuki mga mam. Ay!
The themes of patriarchy and political control are explored, boldly told in visuals, often surreal, but never detached from its issues. Sinadya kong kalimutan para maulit ang lahat by Romel Erwin Ruiz is mostly quiet, but the problems of the provincial town is loudly told, disturbingly echoing the current situation of the country. I think that regional film can be painful because it speaks of truth. Ang katotohanan kasi is masakit. Kaya minsan ayaw nating harapin ang katotohanan. I know that film is an escape, but many of our fictions, tandaan natin, sumasalamin ito sa katotohanan based on truths na ayaw nating harapin. Kaya mahalaga ang role ng isang filmmaker sa panahon kung saan ang katotohanan ay hindi pinapahalagahan or ang katotohanan ay hindi na nagkakaroon ng tamang meaning. Mahalaga na maging totoo ang isang filmmaker. Whether you're doing fiction or documentary, hindi pwede, lalo na sa isang documentary, na magiging baluktot ang katotohanan. The role of an artist is not just to entertain. The role of the artist is to entertain, to tell the truth, even in imaginative ways. Hindi natin pwedeng i-blur ang katotohanan. The Pain in Napisuko, Caged, by Sheena May Alcala, is something not many can easily sympathize with. But when we are brought to personal spaces of the main character, we feel the pain and the difficulty in defying or following traditions. We get to see the cultural imagery and decors of the place she lives, but these ornaments are symbolic of the traditions and norms she has to go through.
Akan sa subay sila magkula, bang biyadi inimhal sindagat kanda. Bang adlaw marayaw, bagay sila ibandagat.
The pain and challenges of the Ati community in Black Rainbow by Zeke Dulay is secondary. The filmmaker chose to empower the characters as he is working with real-life empowered communities. In this scene, the sister gives tips to her brother on how to convince their father to allow him to go to school.
Pangalawa, itan, pag naghabi ka diretso, aka ka magkamali, tas seryoso kang bangat.
Tinuruan kasi ako ni Ma'am Tess mo magamit computer para doon na exam the scholarship.
Akatan masyad nahulog kati saktong bangat.
Tatang, labi ko ba't kasi mag-aral? Kung kumaintindihan yung pakit kang inchik, kaya papil. Kita pampaling kita madalo tatamo, dia balita mo.
Masyadong masikang. Masyadong may na.
Yan, jagan mo.
Ayin.
Yan, siya gamot mo.
Sa ti pangatlo, dapat mangangaw ka, yan at ti papakasikan may boses mo. No, ayan na ti kadani may kahabi mo.
Tatang, tala malingat tatang ta. Tala malingat. Siguro, alway kung anak. Siguro, ampun niyo kubat. Siguro, yaya baca anak yun. Yabayin ko, pakai mo kangko. Labay ko ba't kasi mag-aral? Kung maintindihan yun, papila pa din kamu yun. Labay ko ba't kasi mag-aral tatang? Kung maintindihan kung papila inchik, pakit kamu yun tatang.
Nahulog ka ti imong kang ansi baboy lali. Tas hati magwala ti imong baboy lali. Tas ansi awa mo kaganon na siya na mo.
Hoy kakak, kakaknya ngomong.
One thing I have observed sa ating mga regional films is that they go beyond genre. So when I say they go beyond genres, mas maraming pwedeng paglaruan ng ating mga filmmakers because we have folklores, we have mysticism in many of our films, lalo na sa Western Visayas or many parts of Mindanao. We have indigenous content. So pwedeng itong mag-mix. We get to do fusions. We get to mix genres. Sa tingin ko, ito ay strength rather than a weakness. Others, they would call this na ang mga narratives natin minsan is not clear. Pero para sa akin, maraming way to tell a narrative. Hindi lamang isang paraan. So ang pagkukwento, maraming paraan. For example, if I tell the story of the mermaid, maraming paraan kung paano ikwento ang kwento ng isang mermaid. Pwede mong gawing realistic, pwede mong gawing fantasy, pwede mong gawing documentary ito. The search for the mermaid, pwede mong gawin fictional story ng isang tao. Feeling niya siya ay mermaid. So, ang daming pwedeng anggulo at maliban sa anggulo, maraming pwedeng gawin sa approach to tell the story. Ang regional film, maraming paraan para ikwento ito. At ang paraan na ito is usually based on the aesthetics ng gumagawa, ng filmmaker, the collaboration with the team, the inspiration that he or she has during the shoot. Kasama sa voice na ito, yung pagpili ng team natin, cinematography, production design, costume design. Kasama din dito kung paano natin gustong palitawin ang mga to not show it. So ang daming paraan. For example, sa Baconawa Film Festival, which is the first genre film fest in the Philippines, we are now on our 9th year. Every year we try to define or not define genres. Ayaw naming makulong sa isang meaning lamang ng sci-fi or horror. Kaya ang programs ng Baconawa, I try to make it a point na it's diverse, it's different. It challenges the genre itself. It challenges how we tell stories. Memphis by Helen Glee Strong may be sci-fi, but it tackles the real-life issues of people with mental health and how they are treated.
You can't do anything. Sabi mo, parang gata ka.
Meanwhile, Siwala, voiced by Josue Gopez, uses production design and sound to add interest to a dramatic romance short that uses time and airwaves as elements in juggling the past and the present.
Ako kaburian mayari. Ako kaburian damdaman pa indalit awakas.
Alas Tres by Ramjun Balasote and Dane Arsulo may be in your face horror, but the film tackled superstition, faith, and domestic relationships.
Hindi ka natin pwede dalhin. Mas malibay ka din sa akin.
Easily we can accuse Kagat by Fatima Villarta of having been inspired by Western zombies, but in Western Visayas there's such thing as a local zombie, wherein the dead can be brought to life. Horror, action, and drama mix in this crowd favorite during its festival runs.
Kapupulutan ng mga magagandang aral. Kwentong nagpapakita sa kultura at kalinangan ng isang lugar.
Hiboong, Astonished, The Untold Story of the Enchanted River by Jean Lopez Arroyo is part fiction, part documentary, and is both folkloric fantasy and drama.
Di kini ang iyang dakpon. Pero yapating
"3021" by Edmund Telmo is sci-fi, but it's also a cyber satire, showing the corrupt systems of society while still telling a minimalist story of a baffling future. To box Kyle Mendoza's Cuadrado into a genre can be very tricky. It is even more minimalist than 3021 and seems to suggest an outer reality, a gateway. When creativity is boxed, how can one brave the status quo? Sa isang regional film, makikita natin ang climate, accent, flora, fauna. Alam mo kaagad na regional film yan kasi may mga nakikita kang lugar, plants, flowers, may naririnig kang accent na hindi mo naririnig sa mga usual na Tagalog films na napapanood mo sa mainstream. Ang pacing ng isang regional film may be different because iba ang pace din sa mga probinsya. No? And the tendency is the pacing is reflected dun sa pacing ng ating film. To many, sa mga sanay sa mga quickie and meron silang short attention span. Boring ang mga ito. Pero lumang ano na yan lumang pag-iisip na isang bagay na mabagal is boring. It becomes boring only if you fail to understand or you fail to realize that there's something important going on. So wag nating isurrender yung ating patience. It's important that we look into why these films are slow, why this film is told this way. Nang sa gayon, maintindihan natin kung bakit ginawa ito ng isang filmmaker at bakit ito ang kanyang gustong pacing sa kanyang pelikula. Tale is its choices of locations in Guimaras Island. We are not only confined to the sea, but we are shown some of the best greens of the island.
Wala gid ko guro nagdugay sa kalibutan. Tanan ko nabalaan, sa iya gid ko tanan natun-an. Idol ko gid siya, kag hindi niya gid ko pagbabayan. Piskan anong matabo. Hindi niya gid ko pagbabayan. Amon ambal niya. Bagay gid nga mga kakatabok sa kabuhi. Na biskan hindi mapatihan. Wala na ko sulabot kung ano pa nang dumamila. Alam ko, sa akong puso ng mga tutumi. Wala di ko gipabayaan ito to. Sa pila ka tinuod. Kaya nagit siya sa luyo ko.
Malalaman mo ang regional films by the look of their performers. No? The faces of the performers, alam mong local. Bawat region may kanya-kanya na nga silang staple actors. Like sa Ozamis, meron kayong staple actor. Sa Western Visayas, meron kaming set of actors that you see in the films ng mga filmmakers natin. So we create our own communities, community of artists and actors that you see in the films. Mahalaga ito dahil makikita natin bilang audience na okay, hindi lang lahat puro artista. Dahil sa totoong buhay, hindi naman lahat na namimit natin ay super gwapo or super ganda. Mahalaga sa akin ang karakter ng bawat pelikula. I believe that there's a charm in many of the characters na nasusulat ng mga regional filmmakers. Lalo na pag ang casting ng mga ito ay tama, there's a charm in there and sometimes mas matatakot ka, mas kapanipaniwala ang mukha ng isang local or somebody or unfamiliar to us than somebody na masyado ng gasgas no sa screen. In Kyle Fermendoza's local favorite Manggagara, places in Iloilo and Capiz were carefully selected for this horror action fantasy drama. The all-local actors, headed by Fermendoza himself, perfectly blended with their locales. So when you see climate, the temperature, the accent, the flora, the pacing, the faces of performers, pag nakita mo ito collectively sa isang pelikula, therefore you see that the region, the location, the community in that location or the people who are part of that region ay nabibigyan ng justice yung kanilang portrayal dahil nagre-reflect ng mas makatotohanan na look at mas makatotohanan na kwento. There is a certain realism to it compared to if you cast someone who is not from there or hindi niya kamukha yung mga tao doon. Or if we go to a location tapos inappropriate natin yung location na yun sa isang maling kwento. So, hindi makatotohanan ang mga bagay-bagay. Kaya mahalaga na ma-observe natin itong mga realities na ito sa regional films. What strikes me in the film Lumon by Eden Hilpo are the establishing shots. That reminded me of my childhood. We are treated to scenes that is only experienced in our province. The imagery of nature in the short is a visual treat that adds textures and flavors to this horror tragedy.
Bata, apa ba? Apo nanja, hindi ka pagpangitaon ni nanay mo? Hindi Ikaw ba uli? Dali ako, karon. Hindi ako, pangitaon ako ni Lolo karon. Masunodon ako. Dilo bala. Hindi ganito!
In Tamiao, Serene, filmmaker Mary Ann Gabisa naturally selects beautiful locations and captures the locality of the town, showing scenes that can only be seen in this particular place.
Kauban na. Ayaw na kay madaktan ka sa pamasahe. Biyahe ka?
Oh, biyahe. Purpose mo?
There is an interesting similarity in tone between The Passion of the Christ by Drix Reyes and Trespass by Ryan Amakna, showing scenes wherein each of the main character, also played by Amakna, is shown daily routines we only see in provincial settings. The tone of both films are serene in showing routinary life in isolated spaces. Finally, a scene from Ugbos Kabayabas, Tender Leaves of Guava by Manny Magbanwa Jr. brings us to earlier years in Antique where circumcision is considered to be necessary. It is this exchange that makes for a perfect local scene.
Mapapaltar ka dyan nga bakasyon ha. Rekara, pumida ka ng sunlog.
Na, tuig niya lang ah.
Ay, ano nga sa sunod tuig pa man? Pagkatsura mo rin ha? Ano ba imuon mo? Kada may masunlog ka mo, masinubagan nila ka mo pirme? Ha?
Ano to na imo nga raman? Abi, pabay lang dito na rabata mo nga ra. Ginapilit mo giti mo nga hindi ka tanahanda mo. Ano ang paltak-paltak man. Importante gid raw. May man ha kauna, silang tawag lang sa tatay mo. Natawo ka man nga pura man tana ra mapaltak.
Ikaw na pa matunay.
Ang mga regional films have strong economic, experiential, and cultural roots. So, pag may isang filmmaker na pumunta sa isang region or sa isang lugar na hindi siya familiar with, mahalaga na siya ay mag-immerse ng kanyang sarili sa kultura ng place na yun para mas makilala niya ang mga tao doon. Magkaroon siya ng research. Kailangan niya magsaliksik, kailangan niya munang ma-experience ang mga bagay-bagay sa isang place na yun para, or nang sa gayon, magkaroon siya ng better understanding of the place and the people para yung kwento niya na gagawin, kung hindi man siya sa taga doon sa lugar na yun, ay magiging makabuluhan, magiging mas realistic at may pagpapahalaga sa mga tao doon. There is respect is given to the people and the place na pinupuntahan mo. Even if you're also from that place, I think you have to subject yourself to the same standard. Kaya kailangan talaga ang research, kailangan talaga ang deep understanding and respect for the people and the place na sinushoot mo. Even if ang kwento mo is fiction. No? Hindi man siya realistic pero may pagpapahalaga pa rin sa lugar na yun. Sa kabuuan, ang regional films, they continue to define national cinema. And if we are forging a national cinema, then I believe we should consider the contributions from the whole nation at hindi lamang sa isang particular na lugar. Contribution of all filmmakers around the Philippines is very important, especially the diverse voices of the regional filmmakers. Kaya sa akin, mahalaga ang talks na kagaya nito na pag-uusapan natin ang perspectives ng regional cinema. Pero kulang ito. No? We have to have screenings. We have to have consciousness about the existence of regional cinema. We have to have education, film literacy programs no? na ginagamit ang ating mga local films, excellent films as an example sa ating classrooms. Mahalaga magkaroon tayo ng koneksyon sa ating community para mapag-usapan kung paano natin magagamit ang mga pelikulang ito sa loob ng classrooms and ma-archive natin ang mga pelikulang ito. I believe there must be some centralized archive sa bawat region, but maybe I'm too idealistic. Pero ako, as much as possible, I collect many regional films as possible. Dahil hindi lahat nagko-collect. So I think all filmmakers must help in archiving the works and providing it to our teachers and students as examples so they could actually discuss it, they could actually critique it, they could actually review it, and they can talk about who they are as a people, the beauty of their place and the importance of the place and the historical value of the place and of the people. Kaya napakahalaga, no, ng regional cinema. Kaya to all regional filmmakers around the Philippines, isang pagpupugay sa inyong lahat. It is always an honor to talk about regional cinema, to discuss regional cinema, to support regional cinema and regional filmmakers. Kaya sa kanilang lahat, mabuhay. And as I always say in our language, padayon. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Sir Albert, for that informative discussion. At this point of time, we will be having an open forum where we will be receiving questions from out of the participants. You can click the raise hand button or any question or clarification. Anyone?
And the floor is open for the Q&A. So, yung mga participants na nandito, you may ask questions kay Direct Albert. Ayan. Kasi kung wala, parang ako ang dami kong gustong itanong kay Direct eh. Ayan.
You are welcome, Pearl.
How about from the local filmmakers na nandito? We have JM Hermoso. Ito nandito rin si Ara Amor, mga filmmakers din ito, no? Si Rosalie Sharif, ayan.
This is the first time I premiere this lecture because I don't usually repeat my lectures. So this lecture is really specific for cineANIMO, and I hope that after this I could use also for other events.
And ako po direct na gusto ko lang po i-comment ang napakaganda po ng presentation niyo.
Thank you so much.
It's grabe no, parang ano talaga siya, nagdedicate talaga si Direk Albert ng ilang araw para talaga ipagluto tayo ng isang magandang lecture at ang dami ko ring na-realize, no. Siguro kung walang magtatanong, ako may gusto akong itanong kay Direk Albert. Medyo ano nga lang to, sensitive or parang controversial yung tanong ko kasi mahilig ako sa issue eh. Charot.
Okay. Sige.
Ayun. Direk, is there like such thing as parang, or have you come across issues of parang elitism sa quote-unquote regional cinema in the national scale? Or totoo ay gaano po katotoo yung parang there's somewhat hidwaan ba or elitism, or should we care about it as of the moment as regional filmmakers?
When you say elitism sa regional cinema, what do you mean by that?
Siguro in terms of the appreciation of films, kasi or maybe it's just because of the fact na kasi may mainstream, diba? Meron din namang ganitong independent, or maybe is it an issue of distribution? But what I'm trying to ask about is should these kinds of issues bother us as artists or as filmmakers?
Pero ano yung issue na sinasabi mo, because you're mentioning such a wide term?
Okay.
You can specify, probably I could answer specific.
Siguro in terms of film festivals, kasi ay na-mention nyo po sa talk nyo na may natitempt po kasi talaga tayo at times na gumawa ng pelikula na makapasok sa film festivals. And there's this parang ewan ko, maybe we just talk it among us as peers, no? Na parang kasing may somewhat elitism na nangyayari sa festivals. Is it a thing, or should it bother us? Ganun. Diba medyo controversial?
The question is not controversial. The question has been happening already for many years. Ang kailangan kasi natin ma-realize as early as now, festivals are very subjective. And as such, festivals are also subject to barkadahan. Festivals are also subject to favoritisms na hindi mo pwedeng i-accuse kasi hindi ka pwedeng magsabing we have to be objective because ang film is not objective. It is very subjective. So ang taste ng bawat festival at ang mga sinusupport nilang filmmakers, isusupport nila talaga yun. Lalo na kung may mga bago silang trabaho. Kahit ako yung programmer, from my point of view, for example, inuulit ko ang mga filmmakers na napoprogram ko. Hindi dahil gusto ko sila, kundi tinitingnan natin yung growth nila as artists. Ano ang bagong gawa nila ngayon. So, mahirap i-accuse yan because, again, subjective siya masyado. So, kung sasabihin ko, yes, itong festival na ito, sasabihin nila, ikaw din, subjective ka din. So, ganyan talaga, Earl, ang sistema. However, I think I know what you mean by when you say that may elitism ba. Ang idea kasi minsan ng art films can be also called elitist ka. Kaya nga ang regional films nandito, perhaps to counter that, hindi ba? Kasi ang isa sa pinaka na-notice ko kasi talaga, I'm sorry kung medyo mahabang aking sagot, kasi ang isa sa nahalata ko is this Pag nag-award tayo ng mga nanalo sa mga abroad na festival, pagbalik mo ng Pilipinas, may mga institution na nagbibigay sa'yo ng reward, kagaya ng FDCP, NCCA. Pag napunta ka sa isang festival na hindi masyadong popular sa kanila, nanalo ka doon, hindi ka bibigyan ng award ng mga institution na ito. So, ano ang point ko? Nadjudge tuloy yung festival. So, ang point ko, balik rin natin. Kunyari nanalo ka sa cineANIMO. Tapos ako taga-Indonesia. Nanalo yung film ko dyan sa inyo. How would you feel, for example, kung sasabihin ko, ay, huwag mo bigyan ng award niya kasi maliit lang yan cineANIMO sa Pilipinas. If we are measuring film festivals dahil sa liit nila, hindi dahil sa spirit, the independent spirit, hindi dahil sa pagprograma ng mga pelikula ng maayos, medyo may problem tayo dito. Kasi nasa sideline yung mga sobrang liit na festivals and yet they have sincere goals and yet they have strong programming. Kaya lang maliit. Hindi masyadong popular. So, hindi ka maimbita doon. So, nagiging biktima tuloy ang mga nananalo sa mga ganitong festivals. I also admit that there are also festivals na pwede mong bayaran. Na pwede kang manalo at ang mga horado doon ay kung sino-sino lamang. So, napakalawak kasi ng world of festivals, Earl. Kaya ang sagot dito is never ending, is a discussion. Kasi pwede kang sagutin din nila bakit ganito, bakit ganyan. Pero ang aking laging sinasabi, titingnan natin yung programming, tingnan natin ang mga jury, at hindi natin ginajudge ito dahil maliit siya or malaki. Because ang mahihirapan lumaki ang festival kung ganito ang tingin natin sa isang tao or sa isang grupo. Imagine mo kung sasabihin ko rin, inimbita ako kunyari ng cineANIMO, sabihin ko, Ozamis? Ayoko. Doon ako sa France kasi naimbita naman ako sa mga abroad. Bakit ako nagtutok sa Ozamis City? Ba't ako magtutok sa cineANIMO? Kung ang tingin ko rin sa inyo maliit, edi hindi ako magtutok ngayon sa inyo. Hindi ko gagawin ito ang aking ginagawa na whole day kong gagawin to o whole week kong ginawa ito. Almost wala akong date na tinanggap, appointments na tinanggap dahil dito. Because editing this, pati ang sound, kung na-notice niyo, ini-edit ko yan. Ang pagtaas ng boses, ang pagbaba ng boses, papasok yung narration, may music na lalabas. All the films, in-edit ko rin yun kasi mahaba ang mga pelikula I have to choose the scenes that I want. So I have to watch all these films. I have to make them, put them in the group na ito yung gusto kong i-discuss for this. Gagawan ko pa ng structure bago ko gawan ng lecture. So the process itself is respect to the people. Kung wala akong respeto sa participants ng cineANIMO or kung sino man naman nanonood nito, I wouldn't do this. Because who would? Magkano naman tatanggapin mo dito? Is it really about the money? Is it because small ang festival? So in that context, nakikriticize ko ang mga tumitingin ng wow, bilib na bilib ka dun sa isang malaking festival na pinupuntahan mo palagi dahil mahal na mahal ka. But the question is, they also started small. If I don't give chances to these small festivals and ang tingin ko kaagad sa isang maliit na festival is maliit ka lang, then that for me is elitism. Na dapat i-stop. Yeah.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Direk, no? Ang ganda po ng answer. Ayun. Meron po tayong question dito from Rosalie Sharif. Sabi niya, can regional cinema in local languages get the same attention as mainstream media? Thank you po, Direk. Sabi niya.
Ang sagot is two-sided, Rosalie, and thank you for the question. Two-sided siya in a term, in ways na nagde-depend talaga ito din sa audience at nagde-depend din sa ganda ng gawa. Pero may isa tayong hindi nakikita dito. Walang ability ang isang filmmaker to market the work. So sino manonood kung walang magma-market? So I don't know kung anong sagot dito. Pero ang sagot dito is that if you watch, kung mas maraming nanonood ng mga pelikulang may mga local languages, and dapat lang din, at marami din ang gumagawa ng magagandang pelikulang kagaya ng local language, then siguro meron tayong positive na sagot dun sa iyong tanong. Pero may issues din ako. Hindi lahat ng regional film ay maganda din. May mga hindi rin kagandahan. Kagaya din ng mainstream, may maganda din sa kanila. So hindi ako, I hate mainstream and I love this cinema. Wala eh. I love individual films. I look into the quality of each film. Pero alam ko, lamang na lamang ang mainstream dahil may malaki silang corporations and marketing arm compared to a filmmaker, kunyari na gumawa ka lang ng film. Just a word of caution. Marami din kasing filmmaker na akala nila after na gawin ang pelikula, people were lined up for the film. Ay hindi po. Pag gumawa kayo ng film, pag pumunta ka sa page ko, for example, sa Instagram ko, ba't ako promote ng promote? Kasi may nagkikriticize sa akin. Marami namang nainggit din. Sasabihin nila, bakit ka promote ng promote? Eh, sino magpo-promote sa akin? Ang tanga-tanga naman ang question na yun. I'm sorry to say. I mean, who promotes me? Of course, myself. Who would know I have a film? Of course, myself. It starts with family. Now, if they see your film, then a festival will get it. Makikita nila, okay, may konting ganda ito. So, for me, ang mga festivals ang nagbibigay buhay sa atin. Ang mga kritiko na nagsusulat sa atin. Ang mga kaibigan natin na minimension tayo sa Facebook, na sinishare yung ating gawa, that's the start. So, medyo it's an uphill battle, Rosalie, pero sa tingin ko, pag ang isang gawa ay maganda, mamamarket ng tama, at panonoorin siya ng marami, then probably we can say na pwede.
And thank you so much.
Salamatan, you're welcome, Janine. Nababasa ko sa chat.
Ayan.
Thank you also, Josie May. And yeah.
Ito may question po si Janine Chin. Please tell us po what inspired you to enter into the world of films.
What inspired me is there were no short films before na available sa akin. So nababasa ko lang siya. I bought this book, Introduction to the Underground Cinema, for 6 pesos sa book sale. And then binabasa ko siya. And then ang daming pinag-uusapan na pelikula doon pero wala akong makita. Wala namang internet ng panahon ko. So sabi ko, siguro gawa kaya ako ng pelikula para masaya. Of course, nobody... Pag sinabi mo yan noon, sasabihin nila, ano? Because ang idea nila ng pelikula is, Viva Films, Regal Films. Dati ganun. Nanonood ako noon. Hindi masama maging manood ng mga baduy. Natutuwa ako sa mga ganun eh. Napanood ko siya ng maliit ako. Sa theater yun ha. Theater, hindi sa mall. So may mga separate theaters kami na ang ganda-ganda. And naisip ko, hindi ko kayang gumawa ng mga millions na ito eh. So pwede kong gawin ko, ano lang gagawin ko. And then I bought this book ni Nick Diocampo about short films. So with the 2 books na binabasa ko, nagkaka-idea ako ng mga nilalaman ng pelikula kasi dinidescribe nila dun sa book. And then sabi ko, siguro maganda gawa ako. So gumawa ako. And syempre, hindi lahat natuwa. Some people sa aming school sinabi na, wag na yang isubmit, nakakahiya. So sinabit ko pa rin dahil nakapal ang mukha ko. Ang sabi ko kasi kung walang walang tiyaga, walang nilaga, hindi ito kayabangan, kundi ito ay may kwento akong gustong iparinig sa tao sa ibang paraan. And of course, CCP went and tapos na ang lahat. O hindi ko naman, wala ako nabasa, walang internet noon, walang Facebook. So kala ko tapos na. And then CCP, the next year, January pa lang, pumunta sa school, nagbigay ng workshop for free. Dahil nanalo pala ako. That was my first film when I was 16 years old. So naisip ko, hindi pala yung aking ginawa ay hindi pala kabuangan lang, hindi pala parang crazy lang. Some people will appreciate you somehow. So kung walang makaka-appreciate siya sa lugar mo dahil pangit yung gawa mo, so dalawang bagay lang yun. Gawa ka pa uli or maghanap ka ng market mo. I'm sure meron at meron kang market. Meron at meron magkakagusto sa'yo kahit pangit ka. Totoo yan.
Narinig niya yun.
Meron market sa ganyan.
Ayan, tama. May question po ulit ako, no? Gaano po ba sa tingin niyo ka-importante ang film education? Kailangan po ba, parang may urgency po ba na parang siguro dumating sa point na kahit isali siya sa curriculum ng ating education system, may ganun po ba?
Mahaba ang sagot dyan, Earl. Una, kung hindi ako naniniwala sa film education, wala ako dito ngayon sa inyo. Natutulog ako dahil ang aga-aga ng workshop nyo. At late naman pala kayo mag-umpisa. Hello. Kaya sabi ko nga, hapon na lang, ayaw nyo maniwala sa akin. O ngayon, tama ako. Sorry, Ivy. Kailangan ko sabihin ito. Because anong value natin kung tayo mismo late din, di ba? Ang aga ko talaga nagising para dito. Pangalawa, mahalaga ito dahil ang edukasyon ngayon na lang ang meron natitirang buffer. Ano ibig sabihin? Ang education kasi may editors may if you open a book, may imprimatur, may nag-a-approve sa iyo. Hindi pwedeng gawa-gawa ka lang ng kung ano-ano sa science, for example, or sa math. Hindi ka pwedeng gumawa ng kahit anong gusto mo. Lalong-lalo na sa history. Hindi mo pwedeng palitan ito. So kung walang education, hindi natin na-absorb ang mga bagay-bagay. Kailangan natin ng critical thinking even sa film. So film literacy, sa lecture ko 3 beses ko na-mention yun, kung napapansin nyo. Importante at mahalaga ang film literacy. Sasabihin nila, pelikula lang yan. Hunghang! Ito ay reflection of your life. Reflection mo. Hindi pwedeng hindi mo ito pag-aralan. Dahil hindi ka pwedeng pumasok sa isang restaurant, sasabihin mo, I'm a food critic ka agad. No, you're not. You can eat, you can pay, pero you can be guided kung paano mo iti-taste ang pagkain. Ganon din sa pelikula. Kailan ba dapat ito nag-uumpisa? Dapat maaga, kung akong elementary pa lang, meron ng film education. Ang pinaka-problem natin ngayon dito is, sino magtuturo? Dahil na nagtuturo sa special program for the arts na iba, hindi naman talaga mga film people. Most of them are dancers. And I'm not against them. But, kailangan din natin mag-train ng mga guro. Kaya involved ako palagi sa pag-training ng mga teachers. Iba ang pumapasok na guro na magtuturo ka lang. Hindi pwedeng napanood mo 5 pelikula. I'm a film buff, magtuturo na ako. Hindi. It's like teachers should read every day. Hindi ka pwede magturo pag hindi ka nagbabasa. Hindi ka rin pwede magturo ng film kung hindi ka nanonood ng film at ang examples mo lamang ay 5. No, hindi pwede ito. The education natin is so down. 2 days ago, I've seen this post again in 2018 na nakita ko na yun. We are one of the lowest sa buong mundo sa edukasyon. And instead of asking people to apologize for saying those things, it's time for us to do something. So I don't know, andito si Rika, baka pwedeng gumawa ng film literacy program at i-ano natin sa DepEd. On the other hand, Earl, may programa ang gobyerno dito. No? Merong SPA program, Special Program for the Arts. Kaya lang, kailangan mo mag-umpisa. Kailangan ngayon. Hindi, kung matanda ka na, hindi ka na pwedeng bumalik doon sa high school, no? Sa program for the arts na ganito. At ang NCCA, kasama ang Department of Education, meron silang subject na media arts. At ang media arts, nandito yung mga pelikula na pinag-uusapan. Again, hindi ganun kalawak dahil ang isang session lang yun, isang term lang. And ang film malawak. So, I don't know how to address that. Pero kung ako, there must be some literacy program sa bansa. Sinic Diocampo is also campaigning for film literacy sa ating bansa. So, kukonte ang into that. I hope more people will be into film literacy programs.
And thank you so much po, Direk. Malapit na po mag-11 so we can...
Meron ditong tanong pa. Can you share si Josie
eto.
May? Can you share po what is your favorite local film? Hindi ako nagpe-play favorites kasi sa totoo lang, there's no such thing as one best film. Imposible yun. Kaso ang mundo natin nasasanay na 10 best. May ganun kayo palagi. The 5 things to do in life. Instead of listing those things, just do it. Oo, pagod na ako sa mga 10 films that changed my life. No, it's changed the life of that particular author only. Sa tingin ko, ang pagsasaliksik natin sa pelikula is very personal. So, ikaw din, i-strive mo to like more. Wala akong super favorite local film, pero marami akong gustong local films. Napakadami. Mga gawa ni na Ishmael Bernal, Lino Broca, Eddie Romero, Luis Guillen, Marilu Diaz-Abaya. May gusto ako sa gawa ni Picoy Aguiluz, may gusto ako sa gawa ni Ryan Martin, may gusto ako sa gawa ni Love Diaz, may gusto ako sa gawa ni... So, bawat pelikula may mga gusto ako. I love films. Hindi ako biased. May mga gusto ako na pelikula sa mga filmmakers na napakasungit at napakasama. So, wala akong magagawa kasi ang tingin ko sa pelikula is independent. Hindi ko sila ginajudge kung ayaw kong filmmaker, ayaw ko lang ang pelikula. There are films also na ayaw ko pero gusto ko ang filmmaker. Isa sa underrated filmmakers sa tingin ko si Jeffrey G. Turian. And hindi natin masyadong napapanood ng pelikula niya dahil hindi siya mahilig magpa-interview at hindi siya mahilig magpa-market ng kanyang mga pelikula. So siya ang director ng Tuhog, Pila Balde, Minsan Pa, yung pelikulang Cobrador, Extra ni Vilma Santos. I think he's very underrated. So, gusto ko rin yung mga pelikula, may mga gusto ako sa gawa ni William Pascual, may gusto ako sa pelikula ni Tata Esteban, may gusto ako sa gawa ni Elwood Perez. Marami. I could list a lot. I'm a fan of the films, no? Hindi lang Philippines. So, marami akong maisasagot. Hindi lang ako handa ngayon kasi kung sinabi mo, naghanda ako ng listahan kasi I can list 100 which I really like. Oo.
Ayun, may question po tayo kay Saisha at kay Jafet. Let's start with Saisha. Alam naman po talaga natin na may mga baguhan sa industriyang ito. Ano kaya ang magandang gawin upang mas mailahad nila ng mabuti ang kanilang interes sa paggawa ng pelikula?
Ang una mong gawin is gumawa ka ng isang magandang gawa para mapansin ka. Sa tingin ko yun muna nag-uumpisa eh. Minsan kasi we count the eggs before they are hatched. So may mga alam ako na gagawa ko ng film na mananalo. Gawa ka muna. Ang ating kasing problem sa Philippines, we do a lot of quotations na nilalagay sa walls. Hindi naman natin ginagawa yung mga quotations na ito. So ang suggestion ko, stop saying it and just do it. I hear a lot of young filmmakers talk to me sometimes. Ang haba pa ng usapan minsan kasi I give time pag may mga workshops or film camps. And sasabihin niya sa akin, I had this big idea noon ko pa direct na gustong gawin. Pero parang pag tumitingin ako sa lahat, nakuha na ng lahat, nagawa na nila. Kasi puro kasalita. So ang suggestion ko, magandang gawin mo is gumawa ka ng pelikulang. Kahit hindi pa maganda ito, gawa ka, umpisa ka muna. You have to start somewhere. Pag na-criticize yun, pag na-hurt ka, gawa ka ng isa pa. Pag hindi pa rin gusto, gumawa ka pa rin ng isa pa. Hanggat mag-improve ka. So yun yung aking solusyon. Gawa lang ako ng gawa dati. Ngayon, meron na ako mahabang filmography. Yung nag-criticize sa akin, hindi ko alam kung may filmography sila. So may two things kasi, you can either criticize or create. I choose creation.
And very well said, Derek. From Jafet, good morning po, Derek. If given there are more novels to be published at future time, is there a chance that those novels will come to life through becoming yet another set of good films? And what does it take to make that happen?
Una, Jafet, magbasa kayo. Hindi ito magagawa kung hindi ka magbabasa. Oo, kasi sasabihin mo, sana may may matranslate na ano. Una, hindi nga binabasa, paano panonoorin? A lot of books na translated sa film are successful because the books were read by a lot of people. Kaya naging popular sila, kaya ginawang pelikula dahil binasa sila. So, hindi naman mali gumawa ng pelikula based on a novel. Kaya lang kung unknown ang novel, sino manonood din ng film, hindi ba? So, sa tingin ko, it's the first thing to do is support books muna because we are a country that doesn't read. Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Tama.
And the problem is that this increases every day. So, pag dumadami ang hindi na masyadong intellectual at hindi na alam mo, pag dumadami ang idiocy, ang pagiging dumb, ang tingin tuloy sa saliksik ng impormasyon or sa knowledge, ang tingin tuloy doon is walaya. So, nababaliwala siya. So, wag natin hayaan na mediocrity ang mangingibabaw dahil darating ang time na ang best sa atin mediocre na. Hindi na siya best. So mahalaga ang role ng mga bagong generation. Kailangan yung mag-demand ng quality from everybody. But at the same time, hindi ka pwedeng mag-demand ng quality kung wala ka rin nun. Ang dami sa atin nagka-criticize. Lalo ng election, ang daming nagsasabing bobo. O bakit mag-IQ test tayo? Sige nga. No, so ang dali nating mag-ano ng hate words. Ang hate na-fuel ito ng kawalan ng intelligence. Dahil kung maayos ka mag-isip, you will not hate. So tandaan niyo 'yan. My words may be sweeping pero I will stand by it. So ang hatred is really fueled by people na hindi pinapahalagan ang intelligence, na hindi pinapahalagan ang kindness. And I think you need to be a little bit smart in order to be good.
And thank you po, Derek. Siguro we will entertain one last question from Gmar Poligrates. The COVID-19
I think that's the only last question.
Yeah, I think so too. The COVID-19 crisis has disrupted the global film industry. What are the challenges and opportunities for the industry beyond the pandemic? Thank you po, Derek.
I think, Jemer, ang tanong mo ay para sa mga taga-industriya. Siguro may makakasagot niya na better than me. Pero I believe that hindi dapat ititigil ang paggawa natin ng mga creations, artworks, films, books dahil pandemic. Dahil hindi naman nagkakasakit ang imahinasyon. Hindi naman nagkakasakit ang creativity. Pwedeng magkasakit ang physical body mo, pero yung diwa mo, yung spirit mo, yung creativity mo, hindi yan nawawala. So, wag niyong hayaan na patayin ng kahit sino ang diwa mo. That independence that you have should not be taken away from you. That knowledge that you have cannot be taken away from you. That talent that you have cannot be taken away from you. And the stories of our people cannot be taken away from us. They can kill me today, but my films and stories remain.
Thank you very much, Direk Albert Banyares. No? I will now be volleying it back sa ating MC/host. So, Ivy, take it away.
Yes,
Thank you,
Direk
Thank you,
Albert.
everyone. Thank you, Earl, and thank you, Ivy.
Thank you, Sir Ederic Albert, for that enlightening input. I am sure that everyone here agrees with me. And now, to show our sincere gratitude to Mr. Albert Panares for sharing his time and intellect, let's call on Drix Rias to present the certificate of appreciation of the guest speaker.
And give the check. Thank you very much.
Ayan. Pati certificate no virtual pa rin. This certificate of appreciation is presented to Mr. Albert Panares as the research speaker on the Film Talks, a glimpse of regional filmmaking, status quo, and its perspectives at the Saul University via Google Meet. This day, May 17, 2022. Signed, Earl Hendricks S. Reyes, co-festival director of cineANIMO, Rian Christian Macna, co-director of musicanimo, Syra Apple Narit, co-director of Sulatnimo, and Ted Nugent F. Takan, the festival director of ANIA, Harvest of the Arts Festival. Direct Albert, we are very happy, no? And grabe, like no words can describes yung mga naibigay yung input. Sobrang ganda po. Thank you very much.
Thank you. From me and Fifi.
Hello, Fifi.
Thank you so much, our speaker, for gracing today's talk, and to our very active participants. So before we leave the meet, may I remind everyone to access the evaluation form through the QR code displayed in our screen.
Pasalamatan ko lang din si Rika, no, sa FDCP. Thank you, Rika, for facilitating and for staying.
Thank you so
My
much.
regards to Chair Liza and the FDCP workforce. Gutom ka na, Fifi.
Ayan. At this juncture, no, we will be having a virtual photo op ulit.
Yay, photo op. Fifi, photo op.
Photo op. So, we are requesting everyone, yung mga taong nandito po, to turn on their cameras. Let's have a photo op with Fifi now.
Dali, Fifi, kasi maya wala na siya. Oh, tayo pa naman ng camera ni Fifi. Oh, shy. Fifi, oh. Yeah, I know. You don't like? Oh. Oh, yeah. I know. One more.
Ayan.
Ayan, oh.
Actually, the Edmund Telmo has, ayun. Ayan. Let's turn on our cameras now. We will have a photo op. Sige.
One last. Dali.
Sige. In 3, 2, 1, say cheese. Ayan. Thank you so much, everyone.
Maraming salamat sa lahat. Please extend my regards to Sir Mon and Sir Ted.
Thank you so much, Direct Albert.
And that ends today's virtual webinar. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.